You're All So Glorious, Chapter 2, Part 3. It's been a minute. In this manner, the first truth Lace learns about her new home comes to be verbalized. Yes, Lace says in a small voice. Good. Mother's face remains harsh and unmoving. Do not fail me. She pushes open the door to the room next to her. In it is a single... In it is a room with a single queen-sized bed in the center, a nightstand to either side, and a window, closed off with heavy curtains, all white of course, and all the same shade. Settle in, Mother says. Dinner will be brought up, 19 o'clock sharp. Her eyes rove the room. Lace isn't sure what she's looking for. Nothing stands out except Lace herself, a stain against the pure white of the room. A mere skin cell that flaked off would leave an impression against the pristine nature of the eggshell paint. A stray hair would be as stark as red paint on an empty canvas. Without further comment, Mother eventually leaves, the picture of elegance, hands folded behind her back and skirts swishing regally. The moment she leaves, Lace collapses to the ground. She sticks her fingers behind her too tight shoes and pulls them off, the skin scraped raw, where the leather had rubbed close against her ankle. Her fingers come away bloody, red on black on white. When she at last sleeps in the luxurious room, exhausted from the journey and the stress of the day, it is like a gift from heaven. It's firm and soft, its decadence allowing Lace to doze off immediately. It's one of the most comfortable things she slept on in her life. When she wakes up in the morning to the sun spilling through her window, she stretches wide and slides reluctantly from the mattress. Dinner the night before had similarly been good enough to erase nearly every bit of trauma from the previous few days. Fish and vegetables, covered with some sort of rich and decadent sauce. The white is nearly gone from her wrist, healed over with Lace's natural skin, as if it was never there at all. Likewise, Lace's memory of her pain easily fades. This manor is no dark hallway. Rather, every corner is radiated by light. There are few decorations to be concerned with, no places for monsters to hide. Lace has a closet of clothes and food in her belly. She looks out the window and sees the sun, and she smiles. A servant comes with the breakfast, eggs and toast and sautéed spinach, but accompanied by fancy sauces and jams that Lace tries every bit of. She likes the blackberry jam the best, but enjoys the honey butter spread over the slice of over the slice of soft bread that way. Each bite is a delight to the senses. After, the servant shows Lace the extent of the manor. The kitchen, the greenhouse, the library again, the private gym, a slew of guest rooms, a wing that is off limits as it is Mother's, and the dining room. You'll eat here normally, the servant says, but as the madam's is gone, there's no need to formally congregate. You can take meals in your room. Mother's gone. Lace furrows her brows, trying to make the French work well in her mouth. But I have just arrived. When will she be back? Despite her mother's harsh words, Lace has found that she prefers a life of comfort to a life of squalor. If life is full of cruelties, she would rather be comfortable. It makes her uneasy that her mother has already departed, when she had not yet spared a single kind word in Lace's direction. The woman's threat to send Lace back echoes like a heartbeat in Lace's ears. Who knows? The servant says ambiguously. It might be weeks, it might be months. She'll return when she finishes her business. What is her business? It's not my place to ask questions, the servant replies demurely with her voice crack, folding her hands in front of her waist. Her eyes are cold though, mocking. She also looks at Lace like a bug. After, Lace is released. No one comes for her, and she is left alone entirely. Lace spent several days in this strange space. Dinner appeared in her room via a servant for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they rarely stayed for long. No matter how much Lace chatters, she only chatters at them, her words not leaving a single scar. The rest of the house is remarkably barren of life, not a whisper of humanity towards Lace, since the first servant had left several days ago. She trots through the house in poorly zipped up and improperly tied dresses, the only clothes she had found within her wardrobe. With no other option, she'd worn them with the ribbons dangling down to the floor, unable to reach her childish hands far enough to twist the bow into a firm knot. Her shoes she'd worn for the first few days, letting the blood squish warm under her feet, before she'd finally realized there was no one else here who would care. Then she starts going barefoot. No one stops her. There's no one around to do so. This ghost town persists for about 2 weeks, allowing Lace to explore every corner of her new home uninterrupted. She crawls through several hedges and finds a little creek some few kilometers from the house's property. She gets lost several times and only barely manages to find the manor again before the sun scrapes the horizon, tears in her dress, and scratches on her knees. The dinner is always warm in a metal dish, readily available for her to scarf down before going to bathe for the evening. Lace goes to sleep, exhausted but content. It's not a bad day to pass the days. Lace is certainly pleased. By the second week, she's half forgotten she has a new mother in favor of trumping in the weeds, building tiny homes from stick and sweet gum balls and clover flowers. The sun hardly leaves the sky in the world of her own making. Her hair is a mess, her face and hands smeared with dirt. It's only for the fact that her clothes magically disappear and reappear clean and washed that she possesses any semblance of respectability. The music is turned up way too goddamn loud for this to work. That. Yes. Even this point falters in the face of Lace's overwhelming puerility and flippancy as she attempts a cartwheel across the lawn that resembles far more a donkey's kick than anything else. This is the scene that Lace's tutor stumbles across when she arrives in the late afternoon, a large handbag clutched in stiff knuckles, shocked at Lace's dishevelment. Immediately, she drops her bag to the ground, the fabric making a dull thud against the stone steps. Lace has stopped to watch the strange lady from a crouched position in the grass, observing this interruption to her daily routine with the objectiveness of a placid bystander. The woman marches up to Lace, her face wrinkled and lined with age, dark eyes flaring, but she maintains a neutral expression the entire way forward. It's only when she grabs Lace's hand does the facade quickly fall away, changing shape as fast as a raindrop falls to the earth. Her hand squeezes in a vice grip. Lace cries out, trying to pull away. "You're the worst one Maria's brought home yet," the woman growls, pulling Lace towards the house, heedless of her cries. "What on earth were you thinking, playing in the mud, flashing your underwear like a whore? Perhaps you should be sent bed. Perhaps something's wrong with your little brain." Big sip. Her nails sink into Lace's skin, fury written in lines of her body tense. Tense body, that way. Her white hair is long, spun thick and fine, cascading down to her waist as straight as a pin. It's all Lace can see as she's pulled along, the hair shadowing her vision as the woman stares straight ahead. Lace is taken inside and scrubbed raw, servants suddenly materializing under the new woman's strict tones. Every ounce of dirt is taken from her body, and then the very idea of them is removed, the wet rag like a scouring pad across her skin. Her stained dress is taken somewhere else. Lace is placed in a new one, this time tied correctly and zippered properly. It's wildly uncomfortable, nothing like the looseness she had grown used to. Throughout all of this, the woman who had dragged her inside had refused to even see Lace until she had become a different person, someone proper. It is only once Lace's hair is prim and her dress is neat that Lace is escorted to the library, where the woman sits, reading a book. She casts a cold, critical eye at Lace. Watery sunlight peeks through the window behind her. Her back is straight as a rod. Her fingers are spindly and long, and they curl around the edges of the book like long tan claws. "We'll see how you do." Her tone of voice suggests that she does not expect Lace to do very well at all. Her name is Miss Widow. She is Lace's tutor. She pushes a stack of papers towards Lace. "Sit up straighter," she snaps. Lace does so. "Recite the French alphabet." Lace looks down, puzzled. "I know my alphabet," she starts, but Widow interrupts, a severe expression crossing her face. "Recite it," she hisses. "Now." Lace presses her tongue against the root of her mouth, but starts nonetheless. She doesn't even need to look at the paper. She gets to the fourth letter, D. Suddenly, a hand sting. She glances down with some mild surprise. Widow whacks her ruler against the wood of the table. "The accent's all wrong," she scolds. "You speak too much in the front of your mouth." It's funny because I'm trying to train speaking at the front of my mouth. Lace tries again, and again, and again, but it's wrong every time. Her mouth simply doesn't cooperate. Every time, Widow smacks her hands with the wooden ruler. Eventually, her tutor shakes her hands, eyes cast to the heavens. "How am I supposed to teach a child this stupid?" she exclaims. "One who doesn't even know her alphabet. One might complain about the other girls, but I don't remember their accents being nearly this bad." Lace stands, legs shaky with shame. Much of the rest of the lesson goes the same way. Lace performs math, which she'd always been decent at, but gets told her way is wrong. Smack. She describes science, but is informed that her knowledge comes from outdated sources. Smack. When Lace cannot name the capital of Cambodia, smack. When she cannot read a text and form her mouth to the proper French shapes, smack. It becomes an easy pattern to predict, and after a while it almost becomes dull. Widow's expectations are, unsurprisingly, punishingly high. For about a month, she does not allow Lace free time. No more does Lace go to the gardens to play, no more does she wander around half undone. Every move of hers is watched by the critical eye of her tutor, who, alongside the traditional academic subjects like maths and reading, also beats in etiquette, posture, and theatre into her lessons. "If you cannot act, you cannot lead," she snaps, whacking a ruler against Lace's desk. Lace flinches. She does it again. "Stop that. You will keep yourself together. You will not break under the pressure of others. Do you think your mother will have mercy because you are pathetic? Think again. She only accepts the best, and your soul is weak, faint, and pulsating like a butterfly. I've never seen worse." Widow has long white hair, like Lace's mother. She also has a terrifying presence, dark eyes, and an uncanny stare. She often wears khaki, one of the few bursts of color, bland though it may be, within the household. Perhaps in the past, someone had hurt her badly and rendered her emotionally unflinching, for she does not care for Lace to have things like breaks and relaxation. If Lace is not learning, she should be, and if she is learning, she should be learning harder. Lace does not dare disobey. She truly fears the people of this place and the power they wield. She doesn't want to be sent back. But nor does she want to be here anymore. She wants to be outside, and she wants to eat good food and not have to bother with posture and focus and appearing happy, even through the most grueling assignments. Her days began at 7 in the morning and only ceased momentarily for lunch and a short afternoon break, where Widow would lead Lace through body-warping yoga poses. Lace suspects that the break is more for Widow herself than Lace, who can only sort of do a backbend on a good day. The day ends at 20 o'clock, where Lace would be escorted back to her room with dinner and homework. pages of books to read, short analyses due on each. Beginner's manuals of English and Chinese grace her bedroom floor, alongside pages of classic French literature. Maps of the world are scarred in thick red highlight, where Lace had forgotten the capital of some Oceanian country. Mathematics spin around her head. She's given more and more work, and no matter how much she accomplishes, Widow simply tuts and says, "You are already behind. You have only You have only now reached a point acceptable to a mere 4-year-old. Stand up and recite your verses in English." Eventually, though, reprieve arrives. Mercy, in its own unique way. Ballet. God fucking damn it. As Lace's new mother had said, the ballet instructor arrives about a month after Widow does. She's worse about posture, worse about manners, vicious about Lace's fading, accented French. For fuck's sake. And exclusively conversed in advanced ballet terms that fly over Lace's head like whizzing bullets. She complains similarly about Lace's poor quality as a daughter, bending Lace's bones a little further back, pushing her chin up a little more, flexing her toes to an even tighter position. Lace often leaves the class with bruises all up and down her thighs, having fallen onto the hardwood floor when her legs finally gave out on her. Even this makes the instructor mad. Both that Lace had fallen, and that worse, she had not fallen gracefully. So it's not that Lace likes ballet, quite the opposite. She sort of hates it, like she hates academics. But somehow there was a mix-up in times. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Lace's ballet instructor always begins practice at 10 o'clock, ends their practice at precisely 15 o'clock, sending Lace off for her evening lessons to be picked up where her morning lessons had left off. The first time this had happened, Lace had sat in the empty library all by herself until Widow had shown up at 17 o'clock exactly, 2 hours later. Assuming her tutor was simply late, Lace waits again and again until nearly 4 weeks have passed, and Widow is late every time, and Lace finally concludes this must be a mistake. There is a 2-hour window she keeps tightly bound to her chest, almost like an injured baby bird. Lace feels her heart beating faster, lighter, for these 2 hours. The first time, she simply goes back to her room and does her homework. She worries every second that Widow would burst in and drag her by her hair down to the library, that this was all a test to see how obedient Lace truly is. Nothing happens. It's brilliant. She slowly starts to venture out for farther and longer every day. She's cautious until she figures out that she can bring her alarm clock with her and set it for an hour and a half in the future. After, her reservations fade as she pours her entire reliance on the ticking machine. Lace resumes her exploration of the manor and its grounds. She spends some of this free time doing homework, but more of it she spends darting through the grass, glancing over her shoulder nervously at the dark windows of the manor, as if Widow could see her every move from a well-placed vantage point. Only relaxing when she's maneuvered herself into the thick hedges, Lace then begins to spend her days, at least in part, whistling grass and trying to weave makeshift bird feeders. She checks on her tiny houses, which she had built out of thin sticks under a squat hawthorn a bit away from the manor. There are little acorn caps for honey water and tiny diced fruit. Lace had read a mythological book on fairies just the other day at Widow's assignment. It had been meant to improve her reading skills, but Lace had grown greatly worried about the idea of being spirited away by a fairy, replaced by a changeling that no one could tell the difference between. So she brought the honey water and fruit to the little houses, hoping to provide ample dissuasion from any fairies that might be eyeing her, fatten them up with good food, and then none of them would even think about taking Lace away, except that I can't help myself. I have to do a short literary analysis. It's the thing that happened. It's just the same thing again. It's exactly what did happen. You're late, Lace. It already happened. I couldn't help myself. Anyways, it's far preferable to being indoors and learning silly equations and sentence syntax. Lace just ensures that she's back in the manor 20 minutes before her lessons begin. This gives her time to bolt upstairs and change her clothes and smooth down her loose hairs before calmly arriving in the library for the afternoon. It's a brutal schedule, but the time outside alleviates the burden ever so slightly. Lace takes full advantage until the point where she forgets that this wasn't ever a naturally planned part of her day. Surely this break was simply a necessary evil that the tutors had reluctantly allowed her. It's pleasant to forget. For a while, although most of her days remain sluggish and miserable, Lace stops looking over her shoulders. Some months after Lace had fallen into this pattern, she finally meets the other permanent inhabitant of the manor, or maybe temporary, depending on which time period you asked. It's a vivid day, all birds singing in bright sunshine, the thick smell of cut grass reaching her nostrils. Lace skips right for the weeds, ducking her head under a hedge and running along the line of trees that shade the road, right to a thicket of scrawny hawthorns where she'd set up a few tiny stick homes tied off on the top with twine. She checks inside the first one. It smells of clover, watery and fresh, but there isn't anything inside. The second one hosts a ladybug. The third one has nothing as well. Lace frowns. She stands up, dusting off her frock. Perhaps another needed to be built. She can do that now, with the length of 2 hours on her side. She would read some rocks, too, for the nice stone table. The smoothest rocks are by the creek, a bit north. Lace trounces off to it, religiously glancing at her watch to ensure she is not running over time. It's because of this that she doesn't see the person before running into them, bouncing off their chests and onto the ground. They both collapse, as they had both been running, losing their balance and hitting the ground. Lace quickly stands up, pulling the fabric of her dress this way and that to check for dirt or grass stains. Satisfied that there aren't any, she flips her hair out of her head and looks up. "Hello," Lace says. The person jerks their head up, scrambling backwards, eyes widened for a moment in what appears to briefly be fear, before their gaze drops to Lace's short height. The fear falls away. They tilt their head. "Who are you?" they say. They look Lace up and down, with a scrunched-up nose. They've got a strange haircut, a black, jagged thing that looks like someone had sawed the ends off with a knife. The clothes are ill-fitted, limp on their figure and ambiguously black, grey in places like someone had tried to dye them. They've got a golden safety pin in their ear, a piece of plastic jewelry dangling from it. Lace had seen them around before, slipping around trees and weaving through hallways like a mirage. She'd somewhat thought them a ghost before now. They've got cold eyes. Everyone in the manor has cold eyes. "Lace," Lace says. "Who are you?" The kid tilts their head. They have a strange stance, lax and slouchy, like they're trying to give an impression of intimidation. "Phantom," they say. "Did Mother bring you here?" "Where?" "The mansion, you idiot." Phantom jabs an aerial finger back in the direction. "There's nothing else here for miles." Lace considers for a moment before she nods. Phantom narrows their eyes. "So what are you doing out here instead of getting tortured?" Tutored. Oh, that's a flip. Whoops. "Instead of getting tutored," they ask, voice laced with thick bitterness. "They're just letting anyone waltz around whenever they want nowadays." "I'm on my break," Lace informs Phantom helpfully. "I do a lot of work normally, though." I'm glad they finally figured out what a break looks like after I'd already left. Phantom rolls their eyes. "You're being taught by Widow?" "Yeah, that's what I thought. She wouldn't know what a break was if it hit her face. So, kid, what the hell are you doing out here?" I'm on my break, Lace says stubbornly. I'm building fairy houses. Fairy houses. Phantom snorts, shaking their head. What's next? Getting weekends off? Getting encouraged to gain weight. Maybe we'll invest in a therapist too. Lace tilts her head, confused. I'm not allowed to gain weight, she says seriously. It'll interfere with ballet. Good to see one thing hasn't changed, Phantom mutters. They twirl their foot before sending a stone ricocheting into a tree. You're a stupid-looking kid anyway. I'm surprised they're not double-timing your education. What? You're secretly a genius and you can just miss lessons? I'm on my break, Lace insists. And I'm telling you they don't give them. I think I know better than you, Lace says hotly. She balls her fists up, worrying that this teenager would tattle on her. They're my tutors. She's not sure why she's so frustrated. She doesn't even like her tutors. But there's something about Phantom's attitude that rubs her the wrong way. She becomes possessive, warding, like a child with a favorite toy. Perhaps it's just that Lace has come to understand very well her own level of replaceability in this household. She had come from an orphanage, with a dozen girls exactly like her. That she'd been chosen was a mere stroke of luck, decided at the pinch of a needle. They were mine first, Phantom says. They lean back, fetching a disdainful gaze to level Lace. If you're lying to them to get free time, they know that they will find out, and the longer this has been going on, the worse your punishment will be. I'm not lying, Lace bursts out. I don't have classes until 14, and ballet ended at noon. Then I made a mistake, Phantom says firmly. You should know by now that Widow possesses no sense of mercy. She only lets you sleep because she must. She only lets you eat because you die without it. You think she'd give you a 2-hour break? Lace crosses her arms around her chest. Yes, she says stubbornly, although she does not believe it herself. It's my break. I'm allowed to take it. Phantoms opens their mouth to respond, only to be interrupted by a flutter of wings, grey and white streaks running to the medial plunge of its body. There's a series of aggressive tweets. Why is this line? The bird says slurs. Fuck. There's a series of aggressive tweets, and then a bird settles itself on Phantom's shoulder, feathers flashing a dull blue-grey and white in the sunlight. What's that? Lace asks, crinkling her nose. It's a pigeon, Lace replies defensively. Phantom replies defensively. The thing starts chirping loudly, shuffling, cracking red talons on the black fabric of Phantom's shirt. He comes around sometimes. Do you have a name for your pigeon? Lace says. She's a bit enamored by the thing. It's mostly white, in a glowy sort of way, but it's speckled grey and black throughout its body, like corruption has slowly overtaken it. He's sort of ugly. He's not. Phantom holds up their arm for the pigeon to crawl down, before jerking their eyes in Lace's direction. Shut up. You don't know shit. I know that pets should have names. Isn't he your pet? You should have him in a cage if he is. The question makes Phantom unreasonably angry. He's not anybody's. He belongs to himself. They snap, nose wrinkling tight in fury. He shouldn't be in a cage. He likes to fly around. Not everything needs to be owned. Not everything needs to be perfect. What else is there to be? Lace asks, genuinely puzzled. You need to be at least the best. That's not perfect. At this moment, Lace's alarm clock rings within her pocket. She pulls it out, smashing the top to turn it off. I have to go back, she says, answering Phantom's curling face. I have lessons. They stare at her for a moment, face blank. Then, slowly, their face pulls taut in deep severity. You tell anyone about the pigeon? Phantom says slowly, voice almost dipping into a growl, and you'll regret it. Lace turns her head slightly, considering, before prancing off across the grass, ignoring Phantom's desperation-tinged "Answer me!" She slides through a small gap in the hedge and trots back off towards the manor. Arriving back in her room, Lace finds she must rush a bit more to get ready. She's a few minutes late, having ventured farther than ever before. She only just makes it into the library a moment before Widow arrives, barely able to prop her books up in front of her and pretend to observe them studiously. Widow's habits when she arrives are always the same. She drapes her satchel roughly over the back of a chair? The chair? There's a word missing. And snatches up Lace's homework from the night before, shuffling through it and looking for flaws. Doubtlessly, she will find at least one. This she will harp on for the next 10 minutes while Lace watches on blankly. Any twitch of expression on her end will earn a sharp rap of a ruler against her fingers. Today, thoughts lost in Phantom, Lace's face is dreamy and vague. It earns her several raps across her knuckles, each one lapsing her focus in and out of reality. "You're on focus today," Widow observes snappishly. "What are you thinking about that's more important than the math you clearly have no understanding of?" Lace really considers ratting Phantom out, but she thinks of the pigeon with its dull speckled feathers. She has yet to pet it, and she may be young, but she has come to understand much in these past few months, and one of the things she's come to understand is that the things she wants are rarely given to her. She folds her hands. "Nothing," she says primly.